Good morning and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Jaded Mechanic Podcast. We're here in beautiful, sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. I can't even tell you what day it is of being here. I know I got a little bit more. I think I go home tomorrow, but I'm not sure. Don't ask me what day. Anyway, thank you again to our beautiful family at Automotive. Automotive has been so pivotal in what we've been able to do here. And I just want to say thank you again to Automotive. Thank you to TechMetric for sponsoring these events, for helping me able to get to these events. I've got an absolutely incredible young man here today who is the AAPEX Technician of the Year. His name is Mr. Tony Martinez, and he's from Wisconsin. Tony, how are you, bro?
Great, man. How are you?
Very good. I'm getting used to the American coffee. Because back home everything is Tim Hortons, right? So I've had to take away my official protest of Starbucks, and I've had to because it's right in the lobby of MGM where I'm staying, excuse me. And so I've had to pay the $7 for a basic black coffee every morning. And,
oh my goodness,
get that, yeah.
Either that or you get 200 grams of sugar in your coffee, which I don't know. I'm more of that kind of guy.
Yeah. So kind of fill me in on how. What is it? You've been a busy man. You were supposed to be here yesterday, and we kind of got our scheduling mixed up because you told me you're like, well, I got to be at Napa. And I'm like, okay, cool, come by on Thursday. But how busy are you right now?
There aren't too many obligations that have been coming out. I just wanted to make sure my schedule is wide open.
2x.
As a lot of things have come with just-in-time communication, let's say.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I've been terrible. I didn't come here with I'm going to do a schedule. No, that ain't how I go, right?
Me either. I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm looking at the AAPEX app and seeing, but as I've been going and mingling, a lot of invitations have come out, like, oh, hey, come and help support women in auto care and stuff like that. I had to scoot out of SEMA and walk all the way over there to go support them. Really, really great group of people.
Tell me how does AAPEX determine that you're the Napa Technician of the Year? Kind of give me that breakdown on what do you have to do to qualify? What makes you the standout? I know what makes you stand out. You're a sharp young man. But how did they determine that? Who nominates you, go on, that kind of thing?
So initially, my journey started with I was nominated by one of our coworkers.
Okay.
Put in a nomination packet with details about who I am, where I came from and what I do in the shop, how I like to mentor other young guys. Obviously, certifications and professional development comes in, and training attended and whatnot.
We were talking. You're up to how many ASCs now?
49 out of 52, and I'm absolutely getting 52 by the end of the year. I refuse to fail.
How many people, when you tell them that, they didn't even know that there is 52?
A lot of people. I was over at SEMA and talking to someone, and. They were wearing a gold patch too on their shoulder, and they were like, you have what? How many?
There's more than 10?
Yeah. There's more. I mean, there's 14 in just 13. I don't know. 13 in just automotive, being master and then the advanced level certificates. But I mean, you've got 52 in all sorts of different sections. You got the collision, medium, heavy duty truck, and all. So that.
you're into a mentorship role at Silver Lake already.
Yeah. I've it's interesting over the time that I've been there. They're getting kind of older guys that are skilled into the shop that have good culture and would meld in with our culture has been kind of difficult. It's so much easier for us to bring in skilled young guys and have them bring their culture and match ours, right? And we can develop them into... we always call it the slack way,
right?
Which is just a great culture and mindset that they've bred in the company. So 5 or 6 years.
Automotive started when Joelle Pollack and I were hanging out at an industry trade show, and we were talking about how shops have big challenges finding and retaining talent. And then we just started doing some research, who's out there helping shop owners with their recruiting process. A lot of shops have extensions of their team, whether it be a marketing person, an accountant, a lawyer. But when it comes to recruiting, they do it in-house. Doing in-house is great. As a business owner, I've done recruiting myself in-house too. But we realized there was a major opportunity to bring traditional corporate recruiting, where you have, for a lack of a better term, a headhunter out there going out proactively, building relationships with candidates and selling them on why they should work for a certain company. We wanted to take that corporate recruiting model down to the automotive space and provide that infrastructure for them, where they have somebody doing everything from start to finish, from designing the job ad to posting it to building the database to having that edification of saying, hey, we're out here vetting the shops or the clients that we work with, and we want to make sure that you find the perfect home, not just going out there and applying to jobs that you don't know how great they are. And when a shop tells you how great they are, it's different than another entity who's out there looking for your best interest to find the exact perfect home that checks all of your boxes. And in the ideal world, we can make this a match.com for technicians and shops, where we have all the technicians' wants, desires, background, and all the shops' wants, desires, and background, and match everybody up together. And we just thought that was kind of cool.
I was working next to a guy when I started, Nick Espy, out in Minnesota. He's a great technician. I don't know where he's in Rochester now.
Okay.
He's got a wonderful wife, and he moved with her down by us,
right,
because she was going to medical school.
Okay.
And they ended up moving back home. Funny story. I mean, I looked up to this guy a lot when I first came into the industry and got my job there. So he taught me an incredible amount. And during that time, I ended up as a master tech and kind of started to get into more of a lead technician role after getting that, and kind of proven my worth and my value.
Mm-hmm.
So one day, I was talking to him and everything, and he just kind of dropped a bomb on me. He came over to our shop, which was really weird. He came over to weld something. And I was like, I could have welded it, but he offered to come over and looked through my toolbox. And he's like, well, you're doing pretty good, kid.
Yeah.
And then a week later, he's like, yeah, man, I'm going back home. And it was a bummer. I'm like, man, this guy taught me a lot. I was hoping he would be able to stay. But
yeah.
That was the passing of the torch,
right, for
me to be, hey, you're the lead guy, like, I trust you.
And this was happening at Silver Lake.
Yeah.
Right on.
They've poured into me and invested in me, and one of the, I absolutely give it back. That's one of the most important things that I've seen in the culture of our shop, is that, the more that you pour into someone, the more they give back. And I know it's a subliminal, wonderful thing. Yeah.
But it's nice to hear that, like, somebody was able to share it with you and pass it on, so that it was already there. You know what I mean? Because, like, I've had that thing where I've had one good mentor or two good mentors in a place that had terrible culture, right? It became an individual choice. You get to work for somebody that has a collective team culture that's so much more powerful than just an individual. An individual can change an individual's life, but a team of us all going for the same goal, that changes the whole world, right? Like, huge.
Yeah, and it's to the point now where, during the time that I've been with this company, they've evolved so much in improving and really being like industry leaders in the way that they set up their shop. And now, they're scaling and they're growing, and they absolutely deserve it, because they've figured out these things, so many different dynamics of how to do it. There's kind of a point now where they have almost a scalable point where, well, we need a kind of a lead tech mentor guy.
Right.
We need like a production manager. We need a kind of a foreman. And without that mentorship guy around the building, you can't grow anybody.
And that position is not new, right? Like any of us that have been up through the dealer systems, that used to be the thing, is every dealer had a foreman. But what was different was like they had them in a role, whether they were good for the culture or not, right? It was just, and it was always looking at like, well, that guy was the producer. He knew all the tricks of how to keep everybody, turning hours.
Just keep hours
He might have been. He might have been like me. He might have been a grouchy old gatekeeping, worn down, hurting, injured, whatever you want to think, person. That's not good for culture. You're 26 years old, and you're in a leadership role within people that you mentor every day that are older than you, that are maybe more years in the trenches than you, but yet you're tasked with like mentoring them to how to be the best that they can be in Silver Lake. I want to hope that everybody is receptive to that. You know what I mean? The fact they don't give you this, hey, young kid, like, oh.
Well, I'll be honest. During that time, I mean, I think I was 26 at the time. Even before that, I was a lead tech. 26, they allowed me the chance to be foreman, and it included administrative stuff that I was just not mature enough to do.
Yeah.
Most automotive conferences, unfortunately, only focus on one side of the shop. But Tectonic 2026, presented by TechMetric, is different. It's built for the whole shop. Owners, advisors, and technicians all have sessions designed for the work they actually do day to day. It's 3 days in Houston, packed with workshops, panels, and over 1,000 people from the industry are set to attend. And you don't need to be a TechMetric customer to qualify. Hit up the link in the show notes below and check out Tectonic 2026. Register now while you still can to get the early bird pricing.
Like going to meetings and trying to figure out stuff, and I absolutely did not have the maturity or understanding of what we were trying to accomplish in the meetings.
Right.
And what they were trying to do was give me the tools to improve the culture constantly and improve myself through doing it. And they would give me these little nibbles of information, and I would push them away.
Mm-hmm.
And now I over a couple of years now become a far more receptive to it and understanding, and listen to like Jocko's Extreme Ownership. I read that. At first they said, you should read this. It'll really help you just in your life. If you don't take something from this for, work, you'll get something for this out of your life. And, I was like, I'm taking Extreme Ownership,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to fall on my sword every time I'm going to go do all these cars by myself. And
that's not.
It was absolutely the exact opposite of what those kind of principles that he's talking about in there, or general principles like that work. And it took me a couple of years to finally listen to it, and it really has helped. That and other things. Like my brother turned me on to a book, How to Think Like a Roman Emperor.
Okay.
Following Marcus Aurelius.
Right. From the Gladiator movie. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was a Roman emperor in 200 BC, I believe, or 175 BC. Very, very short-lived guy, like 35 years old. But he was taught Stoicism by Socrates, right?
Yeah.
And the Stoic practices are so interesting, and it's like, well, we could go into battle and get absolutely defeated, but I'm not going to sit here and worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go do it, and then whatever the results are the results. We'll analyze and we'll move on. Yeah, and stuff like that, too, really has also improved the way that I kind of go through and say, a young guy I'm working with, mentor, and break something, and it's like, laugh. Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, that's funny. I've done that before.
Yeah, because all of the, you can take, you've heard it, I'm sure. Oh, just because you pass ASEs means you passed the test. Doesn't necessarily mean you're a great technician.
Right.
Right? What do you think about that argument? Because, obviously, this is more than just for you, like an ASE said, I can pass a test. There's proof that you're a good technician. But what do you people that counteract that as saying there's no point in getting ASEs?
I've absolutely met a lot of people, which even a couple of them were master techs. A good guy that we had, I love the guy. had that kind of attitude towards ASEs. And, you know, it's really interesting because we've got some guys right now that are, they're trying, you know, me going out and doing as much as I have, getting a ASE world class last year, being the 22 ASEs, and then now pushing for President's Club at the 49.
Right.
We've been having kind of gentlemen's competitions, like, hey, I'm going to sign up and go take a couple this weekend.
Right.
You know, I'll take two if you take one. Let's go. Let's go push ourselves to do better. I can see where the argument comes from. Yes, it's a standardized test that really can tell whether or not you're skilled, and I can understand that. But the reality is, like, that those people are also the same people that argue, well, I'm a bad test taker.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I absolutely understand learning disabilities and everything like that. You know, I have ADHD, but I think that the bad test taker thing is an excuse to not take extreme ownership.
An excuse to not really truly know the material.
Right.
You know?
If you know that material and have studied twice as much as you think that you should have, I just watched the movie A Million Miles Away, right? Jose Hernandez, migrant farm worker, first migrant farm worker, astronaut for NASA.
Wow. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible story. And, you know, everybody should watch it, right? Because he wrote a book about how he got to that place in his life. He, you know, it's kind of 6 steps of like, figure out where you want to go, right? And then make a plan, right? Obviously, plan goes out the window at some point. Always, right?
Yeah.
Plan contingencies. And then once you think that you've gotten there, go harder. You got to keep working, because you may think you're there, but if you don't work harder at that point, and that applies to that kind of testing thing, where it's always it's kind of an excuse, because people that are trying to go out and go get these things are already incredible, but they just need to get that material really, really internalized. Like, if you understand the system,
I think it's the difference between I go to work and I get the job done versus I go to work and know that tomorrow, with a little bit of extra that I pour into myself, I can get more jobs. And that's sometimes from and you know, where you're nodding your head, you know exactly what I mean, right? But I can go to work and stay in my own little bubble and just say, I only do this. I'm to use that GSCB tech thing, right?
Right.
But if I want to go from being a B tech to an A tech, I can go to work every day and just get the work done. Or I can go to work every day, get my work done, apply myself, and see that progressional step from going from a C to a B to an A. Because here's the thing. I don't honestly believe that anybody can't be an A-Tech. I really believe that if you apply it and learn I almost said learn the product, learn the processes, learn how the material, you can be it. Are you necessarily that intuition that we talked about last night, that instinct, that 20, 30 years of more and more that you're faced with? Can you develop that? Some people have a window that we just can't learn it, right? In terms of the instinct. But you can go and understand the system that you're working on and apply a process and fix the damn problem.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the key really is constant improvement, right? And training. If you're not constantly improving, you're leaving yourself behind. And I know that, like, there are some guys that we work with that, you know, I wish would do more, you know, because it's not that the training is for the company that you work for or whatever, you know. And our shop is a family shop. It's family owned, and they really treat us like family. But if you're not doing these professional development things, you're not doing it for yourself. It's in our handbook to go and get 40 hours of training a year, and I don't think that's enough. With how this industry is so rapidly evolving, I just scanned a car for the first time, saw augmented reality module in there. Yeah. And like we still have guys stressing about EVs. Yeah. And it's like, well, those have been out at least, like Tesla, whereas, you know, the Chevy Volt and Bolt have been out far longer. Tesla's been out since 2013. They released the Model S.
Yeah.
We've got these technologies that are rapidly advancing other than those kind of things. And that's where that 40 hours of training is not enough.
Yeah.
And that training is how, you can go out and you can go get those ASEs. ASEs is a proof of your knowledge of the concepts of, say, brakes. If you absolutely understand that system through and through,
Yep.
completely, whether or not you're a bad tester, there are some, tactics to go and take those things. I mean, they're written by subject matter experts too,
Yeah.
by the way, where some people think, oh, ASE writes these tests. No, actually, those are technicians, trainers, and instructors that write those.
I have several friends that have been asked to submit tests and then review other people's test questions. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Before it gets used by ASE. So it's not like, I think sometimes we think ASE is given the same tests that were given 10 years ago.
No. They're absolutely rapidly evolving. There's the 10 questions that don't get counted. They do get counted if you get it right.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. So you have all that opportunity to get them right, and they're constantly establishing a curve that they need to evolve the questions and the tests. But really, I mean, they're written by technicians. They're written by guys just like you in the Bay trying to go take that test.
So this 40 hours a year that how do you personally seek that out?
So that's a good question. I mean, I've signed up for every possible lead on training. I mean, there are conventions that are phenomenal, like Vision in Kansas City. I discovered that. We hadn't sent anyone there, and they sent me there as a pilot. I think I went by myself the first time. 2020, COVID came around, and I got it. I'm pretty sure they didn't have the tests back then, but I came back on the plane. I thought I was gonna die.
We all have.
It was so bad. But I got to go out there twice now. There's like STX by WTI or World Pack Training Institute. We've sent some guys down there, but otherwise, we also use like the Napa Auto Tech training,
right.
And that they come to us because we're an auto care center, and they tell us when it is, and anytime that's available, I go.
And you do a lot of online stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I dig around and find stuff, especially, for ASE test guides. I've done hours and hours of classes on like motor age and stuff, trying to get to a point where I understand compressed natural gas fuel systems, which, I've never really worked on those vehicles in particular. But if I can understand the system, I can go and prove my worth on it. I have to understand it through and through, though, without having the hands-on knowledge. I think that's another real thing of, these ASEs don't mean anything. Well, you need the 2 years of experience. And within that time, I think that you actually should be able to learn enough to, say, go past brakes and steering and suspension. I'd say that 40 hours a year there, right, get educated on those basics and kind of get a ball rolling. But I've just tried to figure out as many ways as I can seek out that training and improve myself because I know it was going to get me somewhere in my career. And at first, it was just kind of to earn respect in the building. I was just this geek off the street with a man bun.
Okay.
And when I started, a huge man bun sticking out the back of my hat.
Let's back up a little bit. Before you ever landed at Silver Lake, were you a shop kid in high school, or did you tinker with stuff before you had a driver's license? Or
interesting question. Kind of looking at it, right? I was not in the industry. I was absolutely fascinated with kinetic learning.
Okay.
And I wanted to do technical stuff. I thought high school was such a waste of time. They weren't even teaching me how to do my taxes.
Right.
And I was really it's like, what am I sitting in this classroom for when I know I want to go out and get out into a job in manufacturing or something. So I begged my school district to sign on with a manufacturing apprenticeship, went through that, where I would actually still get my high school diploma. That was the great deal of it.
Right.
Spent 2 hours a day in the basement of some factory out in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and did training on blueprinting and AutoCAD and stuff like that, and got certified as a manufacturing, certified by the MSSC, Manufacturing Skills Standards Council. I can't believe I still remember that. That was a long time ago. And during that time, they had us go and get jobs in local manufacturing plants. My first job, real job, other than, I helped out at a farm, which kind of weird, right? A little suburb kid, but out in the farm.
Yeah.
Is kind of done everything, a little bit of everything. But my first job was at Aries Industries in Waukesha. Everybody probably will remember this. Aries Industries, there was a situation where a Chilean mine collapsed in Chile.
I remember that.
Aries Industries flew down there. I don't know if it was a CEO or something, and they brought one of their bore pipeline inspection cameras, and they were able to. That was the camera they shoved down into the borehole that they made. Right. To prove that they were alive. Yeah. And then they continued. That camera's actually in the lobby of Aries. It's really cool. So they manufacture very, very nice, high quality little mini tanks. These things are all controlled remotely from service trucks over sewer pipelines.
Right.
And sewer mains. And they also have lateral inspection cameras. And now that when I was there, they came out with a cutter as well, so that they could service the pipes without ripping up the whole street.
Right.
They would cut them, and then they do the new polymer lining stuff, where it's like an inflatable polymer lining. So I was there for about a year. I would always, I don't know, it's just kind of been ingrained in me who I am. Of I would work to the point where there was no work, and I'm like, hey. Right. Give me more work. I want to learn. I want to do more stuff. And I don't know how to breed that in somebody. I'll have to think about that for a while. But
yeah, I don't know if that can, right? And I don't know. That's one of the rubs that everybody says. Oh, the young people don't know how to work. Well, it's not that the young people don't know how to work, but the young people from my generation were raised like my parents. You just if you got on the shovel at 7 a.m. and it was 7 o'clock at night and you were finally done with the shovel, that was working.
Yeah.
And somebody that might have been sitting somewhere else doing something else, running the tractor, they were working too, but they weren't necessarily working as hard. Even though it's like they didn't understand that team thing of well, that's work. These young people now, they feel like when I'm clocked in, I'm working. If you see me not necessarily on the end of the shovel, it doesn't mean that I'm being lazy. It means that I'm maybe doing something, unrelated to the task. It's, the old heads look at the guy and go, he's not under the hood, he's not working.
Right. No,
I'm standing at the desk reading on how this system works before I go and apply myself to it so that I'm more efficient, more knowledgeable, probably not going to break as much. And they go, listen, what are you doing? I don't need you standing there at the computer.
Right. Absolutely. And even with all of the stuff that I know, it's minuscule, right? Yeah. Still, every vehicle has different systems. You cannot memorize every system. I don't care if you're a dealer guy, you can't memorize. Maybe you've seen it 1,000 times. You've done the same repair. But most of the diagnostic is understanding the system, finding your test points.
Yeah.
You're doing research on where you're going to go test, and you take your last 15 minutes. Rip something apart and perform your test. And, sometimes I see those guys doing training. Same thing. And so that's another thing about the training thing that's interesting. But, it would be a lot easier for the guys to do it in the shop rather than after hours.
Yeah.
If it was during maybe lunch and learns, or hey, every once a month we do training. We're talking about some stuff like that to see if we can figure something out, and trying to build a curriculum as well to really give these guys the tools themselves, right, to do it.
So was Silver Lake your first job as a tech?
Yeah. So I worked at I built robots.
Yeah.
And I loved it. You know, I loved soldering, and so I was soldering like circuit boards, surface mount stuff, and all the wiring, the splice cables. Like I did the slip rings that rotate.
Okay.
And keep constant contact, like almost a spiral cable type thing. But back in the day, they had slip rings behind the steering wheels of cars.
Yeah.
Before airbags were around, and we needed to do engineer a different solution. But yeah, I would make those and assemble those, and then after that, I worked at Generac Power Systems in Waukesha. Their corporate headquarters, actually. They have since renovated it, but back in the day, they had a huge plant in there. And it was only 3 assembly lines, and we did their industrial power generators, which their kilowatt ratings is based off of the engines. Similar, if you look at engine specs, there's a kilowatt hour or kilowatt rating on it. So we used Ford 5.4s, 6.8 Tritons, definitely some sort of a Chevy 9-liter. That one was beautiful. It was a beautiful engine. It would just roar to life and scream. Some sort of a 6.7 high output diesel, and 2.4, 3.4 diesels as well for those generators. And I got to do, through my time there, every step of assembly, taking just a long block and mounting custom fitted exhaust systems so that you could use it. Some of them. So I did everything there. I mean, the exhaust, the wiring, putting in the load centers where it would have to transfer power in to power out. And I had the opportunity there from learning everything and kind of the cross training to build some for Keystone pipeline, which was, that was a big deal when they had those built. Keystone definitely was paying more. They got all of the accessories because they were putting these things in Alaska or whatever. They would use they're in such hardcore environments, they would have to use the exhaust of the generators in certain spots, just run a generator to heat the pipe so they could get the stuff down there. So after working there, kind of got burned out on manufacturing a little bit, but still kind of, and at that point too, I had to get my first car. It was absolute interesting, totally a first car. My brother sold it to me, and I crashed it.
What was it?
2004 Chrysler Sebring.
There you go.
Good old Diamond Star unit and Mitsubishi engine, whatever in this thing. So it was weird. It was a coupe. It was cool. I crashed it in the first month. I felt so bad. My brother sold me this thing, and I messed up. Bought an even more beautiful 1994 Chevy S10 Blazer Tahoe, 2-door, rattle can black. You could hear the ball joints about to fall out of this thing. I didn't know, though, right? I had no idea. And, during that time I was driving that thing around, me and my buddies start having to fix these things. When I bought funny enough, both first vehicles I had crappy radiators when I got them. They were spraying steam out, and I'm trying to drive these things home. So I just had to figure this stuff out, and had a good mentorship from my uncle along the way there, teaching me what he knew.
Right.
And for some reason, I didn't get into the industry right away. I had some friends that worked at Jimmy John's, weirdly enough. And I went and worked at Jimmy John's for a couple of years while I was going to school.
Right.
And I was kind of afraid to get into the field. There's all these guys out there that know so much, and, I got to go to school and get this schooling in and under my belt before I can go and get in the shop, or I'm going to be changing oil and sweeping the floor every day. And
see, that's the big loophole that we get, right? Sometimes is because what we sell to the young people is that you're gonna get a whole bunch of dirt under your fingernails, and you're gonna get to try a bunch of this and do a bunch of that. And the reality is sometimes they do, but most get put into a role of I equate it to like this. It's tire season. So like I say it all the time back home, they'll hire somebody in October, and if they have experience, great. If they don't, they walk them over and go, this is a tire machine. You've never used it before. Pay attention. This is how the machine works. Watch him, how he does this tire. Now repeat and do that 100 times tomorrow.
Yep.
Right? And then it's like, and then before you know it, wow, look at that. They're awesome at doing tires. And then maybe next week it's like, okay, we're going to get you, the tire rush has died off, right? It's snow tire season. Let's get used to doing some oil changes. And before you know it, and then nobody brings that next step in of like, hey, this is actually where the learning begins now on how these systems on a car, the engine with its oil and the tires on the car, how they're all linked together, and where it actually becomes when we're fixing something, looking at these systems as a system. We don't necessarily always do that. We get a job that we need done. We get a person in that role to finish that job, and we never show them the whole way of how do you start to become a craftsman and a master in this. Because again, we don't approach it the right way. We say, I need a person to get this for me done right now. I already have a guy like Justin that's over there in the Bay, and he's doing, but we never think long term about like what should happen if Justin leaves tomorrow, hurts himself, God forbid. Who's our next Justin? Well, we haven't grown that. Crap. And the brakes slam on, and we trying to find another Justin. Whereas if we would back up in this industry and realize like Jocko, the way he teaches, if that guy drops the rifle, he might be a medic, but he can pick up that rifle and be able to fire that rifle effectively. We need to start thinking about that in this industry a lot more of like, they only do this or they only do that. No, you're all riflemen. Right, that's the old Marine saying. You're all riflemen.
Absolutely,
you all have to be able to pick that up and do that.
In manufacturing, they when I was learning all those things, it was cross training.
Yes.
They got the term of cross training, and we would. That's why I learned everything. They were like, "Hey, we want you to learn everything first, right?" But we would have a guy. Hey, he's got a vacation. Somebody's got to fill in that slot, and I would do 2 stations or whatever. But you got to know how the whole thing's built, and that's how you develop.
Yeah.
And I was worried about getting into the industry and not being given those opportunities. Meanwhile, I'm swapping engines in my garage on my,
and figuring out like problem solving. I get it done. It drove down the road again. The engine didn't drop out on the highway. Like there was successes, right?
But and there's thinking, like, plenty enough times there were bolts that flew out on the highway. but I was learning it. Thankfully, it was on my own stuff, right? I definitely would prefer that than letting it be a customer's vehicle.
But that's the difference between mentorship of like somebody after you, okay, hey, call him Danny. Danny, Tony's got this done, go look at it. Versus if there's no Danny for you, right? You're just putting it in, you're winging it down the road, and you're like, oh, I heard that fall off. That was that wrench that I forgot to put back in the toolbox.
Right.
Or, the tires wobbling, pull over and torque the lugs. We're still learning. But that's that point of mentorship again, is that before something bad happens, your Danny or whoever comes over and just says, let me check this real quick before you go. We in this industry don't do that enough either because we're always rushing, trying to, and it goes beyond a quality control thing. It's not just quality control. Quality control is important, but it's before we get the customer involved and say they're done, or the service advisor to say, call Mrs. Smith. Danny's come over and said, Tony, I like how you did that. Or Tony, okay, this is done, but before you let it go, take that harness and flip it back the other way and clip it in. And you might go, why? The lesson here is like, if it doesn't clip in eventually, it could rub. Then it was designed to be clipped there, put it back. It's just an example, but you know the difference, what I'm talking about, because we miss out too many times if we're always rushing on, like, he goes over, hits the key. Yep, it's starting. Okay, Tony, go drive this down the street now. Instead of taking a couple extra seconds to look over what the person that you're supposed to be mentoring did, look at how they did it. That's where the true lesson comes into, like, great job. Now, let's just, next time we do this, try about doing it this way. Or I was watching you. I remember, it was so funny. I had a technician in the Bay working next to me, a young kid, and he got stuck doing a long block in a Titan. So he gets all the, this stuff, and he gets the engine in, and he goes to put the timing or serpentine drive belt on. This is after he's already put the engine in, put the fan shroud in, put the whole thing, and he's fighting to get the belt on. I'm like, Bryce, what if we'd have just put the belt on before we put the shroud in?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
just
it's little things
little
like that.
Coaching thing.
He
like,
just saved 15 minutes.
Right.
Now, I wasn't beating up on him. I'm just like, I was watching corner of my eye how long he was, and I'm like, he's like, light bulb moment, right? And then it's all of a sudden,
hey, being able to coach someone and even just give them that little thing, maybe they're not even going to think about it if you don't bring it up.
And would he have learned as he's doing it? He's probably thinking in his head, if I'd have just done this first instead of before I put the shroud in, I wouldn't be scraping my knuckles. Whereas that's the whole point of mentorship is before there's value in scratching your knuckles. There's value. That's how we learn sometimes. That's conditioning. But if we sit there and say, here's a little tip, or like I said, that is good now, but I saw you struggling with that. Next time, just do that first. That's the biggest thing for a lot of technicians is, like, I look at it and I know what the end goal is. That alternator has to come out and that alternator has to come in. Right. But if somebody shows me that, like, first thing I do is I disconnect the battery, or first thing I do is I pull the battery box out of the way. Next thing I do is I get the coolant bottle out of the way. That's some things that are not necessarily printed in service information.
Right.
But if somebody has done the job, they come over and say, this is how I have been able to cut this time in half by doing this. None of that's ever published. That's where the mentor thing really becomes powerful if we all slow down and let them mentor.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a systemic thing that the more this industry is growing to figure this out in a better manner. Yeah, I think, because it's always been a thing. This guy's got an apprentice attached to him, but giving someone in the shop more. Someone that's obviously ready and, they are equipped with the tools, right? You're giving them the tools to do that and help these guys out, but freeing them up too. It's so difficult to measure how valuable that is in the shop. That time that guy has to go coach and grow the guys around him to. I always look at it as, I want to train my replacement.
Yeah.
I want him to be better than me and, train my replacement.
So how do they task you and look at you and your job for how much time you spend mentoring? And then you're still obviously expected to get through some cars too, right? So how did they break that down, Tony?
It's interesting, and it's kind of a tactical moves versus strategic, right? The strategy is long-term goal is to have me there mentoring the guys, right? And grow my replacement. Seriously. I mean, that's the end goal is to have, 5 guys better than me.
Right.
But it's day to day, trying to figure out, we take in, a lot of the broken cars and diagnostics. I'll take that because you can always kind of walk away from that. All right, sure, I've got my scanner sitting somewhere. I can walk away while someone's got a question and go help them out.
Yep.
And then pour that value into them, or they've got some sort of crazy diagnosis. So I have those cars, and obviously we're trying to get them done as fast as possible, but also as good as possible. But that's kind of more of the strategy, taking me out of heavier production where there are times I got to do it.
Yeah.
Because a guy's out or something, and I'll do it. And, it's kind of always been either give me a minute because I'm really in the middle of something, or I just drop everything and go help the guy out. Our layout in our particular shop is really interesting. So we've got stacked racks.
Okay.
We have 2 garage doors on one side of the building and stacked racks, 4 on one side, and then a drive on and a 2-post truck lift, or 12,000 pounds. It's not, don't want to make it sound like it's a heavy duty truck lift, because we have a couple 16,000 pounds.
Okay.
But, we have 4 10,000 pound lifts that you have to pull through one to get to the other. So it's always been imperative to work great as a team. Say I'm banging out a quick brake job in the front, and the guy behind me is taking apart something, that's a little bit longer of a job, or it's going to take him a little bit longer. He's learning and trying to figure it out. Oftentimes I'll have a car done, and maybe it's a full-size truck. You can't drive it underneath.
That's right.
You see it here all the time. It's actually pretty standard that vehicles get driven underneath other vehicles on a lift where they're safely on the locks and everything. It's totally understood. which you can do. I mean, we can do that sometimes if I get trapped, but that's another thing. Like oftentimes I'll have a vehicle done and I'm stuck.
Yep.
I can't get it full-size vehicle out. And so I go back and, hey, what do you what's going on back here? How can I help you? What, and watch the guys. I'll let them struggle for a little bit, just smile and like, hey, man, do this.
And that's key. I worked in a shop where same thing. We had stacked and there wasn't a door at the other end. So it was like, and I worked on a lot of transits. So the smaller light duty hoist was in front of the back one that we would put the full-size transits on. So if you parked a brake job on the front bay or whatever, you could pull a transit in real quick, say, to do an oil change on it, but you were expected that like that thing had to be able to roll because we didn't have enough room to get the car underneath, especially if it was a truck, underneath that transit behind it. So you had to play logistics on like, okay, what do I do first? Well, I can't put the transit on the front bay because it's not rated to lift it. And B, if I put a truck on the front bay, it won't fit underneath the transit that's behind it. Right. And the transits were always like our fleet of what we would rent. So they were always priority or didn't matter what. You never said, oh, it's got to wait till tomorrow to look at it. It was coming in to get looked at. So we were lucky, we were fortunate that some customers, we could put their car on the front bay, take it apart, do what we had to do. Oh, you couldn't have a water pump, and we keep it overnight on the front bay while we were working then on the stuff behind us. It's not optimal, but you can make it work, right? It's just having a team to come together. Okay, get this one, the brakes apart, or get it back together so that we can get this car out of here. Just being flexible, right? Everybody can make a lot more money and they get a lot more done if they are just willing to say, go help your partner get that done.
Absolutely, yeah. It's working as a team, like, hey, check with your buddy, your battle buddy next to you. What's he going to pull in? Is he going to pull something in? And now we're jammed up. We've got a vehicle stuck there. And oh, man, the amount of times it happens where, we're waiting for a part. It happens in every shop. Yeah. But then, okay, now it's kind of the culture is spread around of, oh, well, I'm stuck. I'm jammed up. I'm going to go help someone else. Mm-hmm. And it's great. I mean, it's starting to spread around in the shop where these guys are picking that up.
I think that's awesome, too, because it keeps everybody, like my episode that just dropped, we're talking about two guys in a shop that absolutely, they hate one another. And to keep a bay between each other to keep them, like, that's not good culture. Right. Now, again, it's, there's a whole lot of animosity back and forth, and one guy's jealous of the other guy because he knows he's fast tracking to be, a better tech than him, right? So there's a little animosity there, but like that's not healthy. Where if you would just go over there and go like, listen, whatever the beef is here, but if you start to get to know your people, where it's like, okay, you're doing a brake job on one side and he's doing the brakes on the other side. That's not optimal sometimes for consistency, but you're working together. You're going to catch little nuggets of, oh, look at how he did that, and then you're going to come over there and help him, and you're going to start to really know your teammates, where their strengths lie, where their weaknesses are, and then collectively we all get better. But I think you got to take away a lot of the way we've traditionally looked at the value of our people as how many hours do they produce, and instead look at like, how do they fit in with the team?
Right. Yeah,
because the team collectively, the ego, I'll win more with a good team than I'll win with one star player who the rest of the people won't support. Always I'll win better with a better team.
Yeah, I mean, you could have $500,000 of shop tools all available if you don't have a good team working together to do it. Yeah, and in support of each other. There's absolutely no way you could fail in every possible manner. Quality control and all that. You mentioned the part thing. What's your biggest frustrations now with that side of the industry, the part stuff? Because, I mean, Napa's pretty good, right? Yeah, Napa's great. They're phenomenal. They have everything to us as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. I mean,
But you've seen our good friend Sherwood. You've kind of seen him go on lately about the quality of parts that are out there. Have you got a story like that Sherwood had where it was like, I'm sure you got more than one story probably of where a part really let you down or sent you down.
Yeah, most of the time it's customer supplied. I do agree. Say he had the Amazon hood latch situation, taking down a CAN network. Are you kidding me? It's crazy. Absolutely unbelievable.
And here's what I remind everybody about that, okay? What's so powerful is, like, it was neat that he managed to make that case study up and show it to everybody. Here's the incredible part of that whole story that we don't talk about enough. That thing sat there 17 months.
Yo.
17 months, he did not give up on that, right?
Right.
I'd never heard of somebody. I mean, I know of people that after 12 months bought the vehicle from the customer.
Right.
But they were not still having those open conversations with the customer like, listen, yes, I realize it's a year. And I'm sure that if it hadn't have been that was that lady's only vehicle, they wouldn't have even bothered because they would have been but the fact that there's somebody who's very esteemed, a good friend of yours in the industry, and they're going, I had this thing 17 months. It drove me crazy. So we all have to be a little bit more patient with ourselves and patient with each other and forgiving of ourselves, because there's somebody that's arguably one of the best doing it right now, and he's got one that's kicking his tail. And in 17 months, he didn't call it quits. He didn't give up. He didn't burn it down, hide it, all this kind of stuff we joke about.
Right.
He saw it through.
Well, man, that kind of touches on the point where that good old-fashioned culture of, that guy down the street's not a professional. That made me think of that immediately.
Yeah.
And that has got to stop.
Yeah.
In the whole industry right now. We've got to stop that and start respecting each other, that we're all professionals in the industry. And, situations like that do absolutely happen. Yeah. That there's no issue or point where he is not. It's still absolutely the most professional thing. He sat there and figured it out. But it is difficult. I mean, it is a difficult job and career. And it was
through networking that he was able to reach out to somebody to say, hey, dude, step back for a minute and think about what you actually got here. Let's go at this from a different angle. And all of a sudden it put him on the path of solving the car, right? If he was the type of shop or the type of person that was always like, I'm the best there is and everyone else around me is beneath me, nobody would be reaching out to network with him to help him through that. When he's stuck, he wouldn't have somebody else to lean on for a different perspective. We all have to back up and go, I'm not picking on you. Well, he's got 49 ASCs and I only have 12. But that means that he's not, you know what I mean? You know it. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have anything to offer you. Right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, these young guys teach me things. You know? And it could be absolutely some new trick they saw on TikTok or something. And,
we talked about, you were asking me yesterday about Chuck Engine Chuck, right? There's a guy that is, I don't know anybody learning more every day than that dude.
Right.
Like, he puts himself out there every day, learns something, gets his butt handed to him on some. He fixes a lot more than he even bothers to show. Like, I talked to the guy and he's like, I knocked out 5 this morning. Wow. And I'm going back to this one that's been kicking my teeth in for a week. So he's figured out finally that it's like, I have to, the ones that might kick my teeth in, I'm going to have a different kind of conversation of expectations with that customer, whether it be a shop or whatever, and we will get through it. But I have to continue to get my gravy done, my programming and my easy stuff done, so that I can afford to be able to put in the time on that tough one. Because that's the thing, if they all become tough, then we're either spreading ourselves way too thin, not training on what we're working on, or we have got to just dial down that ego and go, I don't have to fix every one of them. You know what I mean? I want the low-hanging fruit too. Like, if you become a sadist and I want all the stuff that nobody else could fix, you're crazy. You'll burn yourself out.
I don't know. I'm kind of like that. I love it.
Really?
Yeah. People bring it like other shops are referring stuff apparently directly to our shop. I don't know, of our multiple locations.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, Silver Lake will do it. Yeah, man. I love the challenge. And kind of thinking back too about talking about Check Engine Chuck getting getting it handed to him by some of these diagnostics. It happens to all of us, and there's a certain point where obviously we've got to charge for some of it, right? But when it comes to the hood latch situation on this thing, it's been there forever. How do you charge the customer for months of diagnosis?
You can't.
At a certain point, so you're married to the thing, and you want to fix it, and the tenacity to get all the way through to the other side is another reason why absolutely everybody in this industry should be respected.
And you touched on, earlier some right to repair and stuff. There needs to be even more open communication, more information, because they're holding so much. Nowhere is it written in service information that hood latch causes that friggin' symptom? Nowhere.
Yeah. I think realistically we need engineering level explanations to everything, because I talked to him about it, about how it's a simple switch, but what was happening, it was shorting the ground inside the switch and pulling down the 12-volt supply, similar to a shorted 5-volt reference.
Yeah.
But it pulled down the entire 12-volt supply and brought down modules and a CAN network. That's absolutely ridiculous, but we need that access to the information like that.
Because you hear us all the time say the way the engineers do this is stupid. And they're not wrong, right? A lot of it is over-engineered. But we wouldn't be constantly throwing them under the bus and saying this is dumb if they would give us the same information that they had when they built the damn thing. Right. Then it wouldn't be like... Then we might see the logic of what their method. Or it wouldn't matter if we don't see the logic of the method, but the information that we need to be able to get through this is there. That's not published so that it can do that.
Right. So we've got a guy that has an engineering degree as well, and he's an auto technician, master tech.
Right.
And, he kind of knows a little bit more, right? I haven't designed circuit boards or anything in a while, nor do I have an electrical engineering degree. That's what I wanted to do first, actually. Okay. And there was 4 semesters of calculus. No thanks. I don't feel like it. That kind of steered me away. And really led me more to the automotive because, hey, I mean, this is more tactile stuff, and I'm not going to be behind a desk all day. But so it's great, someone like him has more of the knowledge of that, and depending on who you are, right, in the industry, you may know something like that, like, hey, those transistors are not powerful enough to overcome this short. Sure, but the more information that we have, the better.
Yeah.
Some of it's not even out there. The engineers don't know.
No.
There was a class I took, the GM Duramax with 2 radiator caps. And one's on the side. Yeah, the guy said, he's a local AC Delco guy. He's like, I have no idea. I have asked engineering, and they have no idea. They can't explain to me. The guy that did it left. So that happens, right? Yeah. That happens around. But
we joke at it and we go, well, I know why they did it, because they had a whole bunch sitting on the shelf and they wanted to sell them. But we also know the reality is, if they could build it as cheap as possible without needing to, it wouldn't need to. So there's a method there, right? But it's crazy when you think about that engineer didn't even bother to write down why he did it that way.
Right. Is this for the injection molding process or something like that? We have no idea.
Yeah.
So it's really funny.
What do you want to see? What do you want to see change for the industry and for the technicians? I know that's a big question.
That is a huge question. I mean, everything, right? Wow.
Well, you can't answer.
Just blew off my hat.
That happened to you last night too.
Yeah.
We'll get you a new hat.
Thing's done. Well, I gotta cover my hair up anyway because it's hat hair now. No, I would say there's several things I want to see. First off, I want to see the Right to Repair Act passed.
Okay.
I think it's absolutely necessary. I've run into so many different situations where even normal service information is inaccessible throughout multiple things, even going to OEM until you get to the OEM level, and maybe it's on dealer information, but it needs to be available to the aftermarket. And if it gets to a point where you need a dealer login, where I don't want to say specifics because I may very well be wrong.
Right.
I feel like there was something Chrysler I needed to get Dealer Connect or something, and I just don't have access to that. I don't have access to that information or know how right at this moment. But the Right to Repair Act is one of the main things I want to see industry-wide support for that, and they've got a little QR code that you can just submit exact instances, give them time stamps and dates, and we can give them some evidence and get that just finished and done so we can move on.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, is it for the technicians?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there needs to be a culture shift, and one of the culture shifts, obviously the that's probably not the right word, but make your ego as small as possible and learn from everybody as much as possible in the industry, and have them teach you back and forth. That shop down the street is no good, needs to stop. But as an industry too, I want to see it shift to. We were kind of having conversations about it, about the industry is not automotive.
No.
At all. I don't think any industry is, and I just kind of been led into this information. Someone said it to me, and it really just started to hit me that any industry is people.
Yep.
And if you prioritize the people more, you get better results. Mm-hmm. You get I've always just wanted to do, when I work, I want 5-star reviews on Google from our customers, right?
Okay.
And they don't even know, they see my face on the inspection. Sometimes I get to talk to them, and I'm very, very busy in the back, so taking that time is difficult. But half the time they don't even know who is there doing their vehicle inspection or writing it up. But the level of service from the people in the front, the level of service from the technician providing to them, it all affects our metrics, and the metrics that we're looking at are those Google reviews.
Yeah.
How satisfied are people with what we're doing? I mean, it makes the business successful when we have that. That's a great measurement tool to see how we're doing. Mm-hmm. And the company shifted a couple years back to realizing that, and it absolutely changed everything. The way that they pour everything into us, give us all these opportunities. I mean, flying down to Vision and whatnot, and going to go get that training and bring it back and share it with the other guys. Everything possible they can do for the culture in their building has driven their success. And I think the entire industry could be so much more successful on small independent shops and everything. And it'll change that. I always hear guys bouncing from job to job to job. There are some people, I mean, maybe you can't coach them enough yourself, and they're going to do it. But it's the correct coach, and then, kick them out, terminate, whatever. So there's a 3-phrase thing, but initially it's, try to correct it, try to coach these people and pour into them. And that, I hope it's adopted by everybody in the industry. Most of the people down here already are. That's why they're down here. They're learning.
That's so true, right? Like we come to these events and we get really fired up and motivated, and we feel good about where this industry's going. The reality is, it's 5% come to an event like this, right? So it's like it starts back home in our neighborhoods, where we don't keep throwing the shop down the street under the bus, right? We got to start learning how to work together. I've said it forever. The argument of the dealer is terrible and the independent is the bestest thing in the world. It's two very different. It's an apple and an orange. It's two different things. If you start to see how those guys at the dealer are treated by their culture, you can understand how just because he's a mechanic and you're a mechanic doesn't mean there's a whole lot in common in the way, because the culture steers the performance objective at the end of the day for that technician. The guy that just wants to get paid is probably at the dealership.
But realistically, it doesn't mean you're any different either. I mean, we're all in the same industry trying to achieve the same objectives.
Outliers at the dealer that are really tuned into turning out a really good product and fixing Mrs. Smith's car. But their culture might be like, congratulations, you fixed Mrs. Smith's car. Here's half the money that guy that couldn't did. Right? And then the independent shop down the street could be always fussing and going to the dealer, I got to be less, I got to be less, I got to be less. Or the dealer didn't bother to fix his Miss Smith's car. We got to stop looking at that as like, Mrs. Smith could be full of it. Right? She might have taken it in for a brake job.
It's the last thing you want to think. Yeah. But, it happens. Sometimes there's misunderstanding on that end. I have to say, that totally does happen. But, like coming down here, too, to these events, it's interesting to see the shop owners all get together. Mm-hmm. They're all friends. Yeah. They're talking to each other. But these are the high performers in the industry. And, again, especially me, I measure it in that the metric is people, right? Yeah. These are the high performers because they have great friends in the industry that they learn from every day. They work together to strive for a better industry. And Dan Garlock wants to improve the industry as a whole. And he's going out to go network with people, little shops around, and try to, build relationships with them and stop that, hey, that shop down the street's expensive.
Yeah.
Well, why are they expensive? Well, they've got great guys that they pour training into. They have a great facility that costs a lot in overhead.
They're expensive because they charge for their diag, and the guy down there, he doesn't charge me for the diag. Yeah, because he's not really diagging the car.
Right.
That's the difference. You're not getting the same thing.
No, absolutely not.
Did they maybe fix it by luck? Sure. It's not the same thing. Kind of to go on, are we going to see you end up like Sherwood online? Can we look for that? Is that something that interests you going forward?
Yeah,
I feel like it is.
I feel like
totally
I'm thought about it
enough now to be like, I
would absolutely do it. I got to figure something out. I'm trying to figure out how to, work with Dan on doing it in the shop while still doing my duties, right? And then, gladly sitting at home and editing some footage and putting it together.
Well, I mean, you've got a power team in Sherwood to be able to teach you how to do it. Because, I mean, I know, like you probably know better than me, I keep wanting to call him the senior, but Sherwood, was pretty much just about retired. And
really?
then the third comes in and says, "Hey, Dad, come over here and just film this real quick." And before now, the proverbial cat's out of the bag, the genie's out of the bottle, whatever you want to call it, they're not getting it back in. Like, they're absolutely full invested on trying to build content that teaches these young people coming in that how to rack a car, how to do the basic stuff. Like, I was so impressed with where they're thinking of going that it's really cool. And I think I'm going to look forward to seeing you and the guys at Silver Lake, guys and girls at Silver Lake, do the same thing, because I think it only makes the industry better.
Right. The level of people that they've reached. My mom, I love my family. Yeah. Right. We're all close, really tight, small family, but that great. We have a great relationships, and I go sit down when I visit now, and I'm like, hey, did you see this video they posted? And because I'll talk about work. She's like, oh, how's work going? And then let her know, hey, I was working on this Dodge Ram, whatever. Put 4 PCMs in it. Mm-hmm. True story. But, she's watching these things. She's way smarter than the average bear, consumer on this geek on the street. But from those conversations, but she's watching it and spreading it to her friends that don't know anything about it. And the format that he's doing is so amazing that it's getting out to consumers. And I think that's part of how we can reach people outside of the industry to get that, you dirty grease monkeys. I got dragged in that post because my hands are clean.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wear gloves so that I can rip them off, wash my hands again, and then get into the customer's car and keep the fingerprints off and provide world-class service.
Yeah. That somebody's just calling you a sissy because you wear gloves.
Yeah.
You got
it totally didn't affect me. I laughed so hard at it, but that kind of attitude, sure, that guy's the one kind of guy that we don't like. You know what they say,
and I've embraced this. When you have haters, you've made it.
Yeah.
And I got mine, and you're gonna have yours.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Anyway, thank you, man, for being here. This was a pleasure to get to know you while I was at SEMA. I want to talk to you more. You're that kind of person that I want to highlight and showcase about a young man that's truly doing some pretty amazing things in this industry. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to come here and sit with us. And by all means, you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for having me on. I appreciate having the time to, getting the time to have a conversation. And
this was a definite bonus for being able to be here today. So everybody, thank you. If you're around SEMA, you're around AAPEX, look up Tony, look myself up, come by, say hello. We'd love to talk to you. So everybody, as always, I love you. Ciao.